So let's have a look at the Garmin Epix Gen2. Here, what is it, around 8 months since it was released. I have already done an unboxing setup video of this watch here, first impression video. And my reasoning for getting a new one is actually because the first one I got, the buttons never really felt all right. Some of the buttons did eventually feel a little bit better when I used it after a few months, like the up, down and back button started to feel okay, but the start button just never felt all right to me. It was very shallow, didn't have that clicky response as my 7X does. So I actually contacted Garmin via email through their website. It took a few days for them to actually reach out to me, and then they made an RMA claim that they wanted me to ship the old one back, just wanted me to ship the watch itself back, no extra accessories or box or anything like that. So that's what I did. I should have shipped it back on a Friday, and already the Monday after they have received it and shipped out a new unit to me. So the Tuesday was the day where I actually received a replacement unit, and I got a completely new watch here in its retail packaging. Wasn't really expecting that. I thought I would only really get the capsule, but yeah, full retail watch. And I've actually debated with myself whether I should keep it or if I should sell it, because I definitely do prefer the Fenix 7X for my personal use case, other than for the screen quality, of course. You don't really get that nice AMOLED screen there, but you do have the always on screen. You do have that nice battery life, and of course solar charging, so you can add a little bit extra battery just if you are in the sun longer enough. Kind of lose out of those features here. You can kind of have always on screen, but it's not true always on. It would kind of go into a sleep mode when you are in sleeping, or if you set the watch to go into sleep from a certain period, it will kind of go into sleep mode. And also if you are like not looking at your watch directly, it will also go into kind of a sleep state. So it's not truly always on if you have always on screen on. So I tend to just leave it off. And of course you take a pretty big hit in terms of battery life, even though it's not that bad compared to like the regular 7, which is kind of the sizing this one is comparable to. The 7X, of course, is a little bit bigger, but I've come to the conclusion that I would actually like to keep this watch because I really like to use this screen when I'm actually using this watch, tracking my activities, whether it is hiking or running, which is the primarily thing that I'm doing with my watches as of this moment. I really enjoy using the screen. And when I'm out and doing my activity, I do have the screen always on. But when I'm using in watch mode, I do have the screen turned off. So I need to do the gesture move to actually wake it up, just to get that extra battery life. And in terms of this box here, I still have the original box from my first Epix. You can see here on the left. So seem to be exactly the same box. To my eyes here, there's still no real markings on the box that this is actually the Sapphire model. A little bit strange. So the only way you really know that it's the Sapphire model is if you look at the model number. But other than that, can't really tell just by looking at the box here that this is a Sapphire titanium model. But of course, if you look underneath the box here, you can see exactly the same model number. So 010-02582-11, which is the black titanium model. And it's kind of nice that actually able to keep all the accessories for the old watch. So I still have a watch strap and also the charging cable and of course the box, but I'm not really going to use that. I just keep my boxes for all my accessories or my devices I buy. But anyways, let's just get into this watch here and see what kind of firmware it actually comes with, and just talk about my experience using the Garmin Epix Gen2. And overall, I am very satisfied with this current generation of watches, even though I kind of miss a little bit of smart features. So I've been debating with myself whether I should actually get a smartwatch instead of getting the Epix Gen2, because yeah, it was, before I opened it, brand new sealed in box, so I could get a pretty good price for it if I sold it second hand. But I've just come to the conclusion it's best for me to just keep to the same ecosystem, so I can keep the same data and synchronize it between the two using Garmin Connect. So I don't have to like start over when I switch between, for instance, if I bought a Samsung Galaxy Gear 5 that's recently come out and use that for tracking my activities, and I use it for like a month or so, and then I go back to my Garmin, I kind of had to, you know, get back into some activities before I can start to use some of the more advanced features like training activities and training readiness, which I run the latest beta here on my 7X as of this video, and I really like that ready to training, or training readiness rather, excuse me. Of course, it's in my native language here, but you can see it's very low right now. I had very terrible sleep last night, so nice feature, and I really use that often. But anyways, still I don't think this is completely black. When you look at the bezel, more grayish. I have the 7X here in black color. You can see if I hold it up side by side here, the Epix Gen2 still seems a little more dark gray to me. But other than that, let's just get into this box here. I suspect we'll see exactly the same accessories as with the release date model. So you do have the little inner box there. And of course we have that USB cable, charging cable, data cable, just USB 2.0, and have that standard connector there for all of your Garmin watches. I believe all of the watches currently are using this connector. So that's kind of nice. And of course just USB type A in the other end here. Other than that, you do get some instructions. So important safety and product information, and you get that in many different languages. And this is the European version. Of course, I live in Europe here, so the package may be a little bit different in terms of languages. And you do get a quick setup instructions here, also in many different languages as well. So you can quickly get up and start it here. And other than that, of course, we do have the watch. For some reason, they have chosen this kind of dull screen protector on there, so it doesn't really reflect that nice AMOLED screen all that well. Would have been nice to see some color, but of course we do have the watch band already pre-attached to the watch. I'm not a big fan of these silicone watch bands. I still use my Yo-Side sports band. This is the one I use with my other Epix. Still holding up just fine. So I'm gonna replace that, but of course it is already attached to this silicone strap, so you can pretty much just start using it right out of the bat. And let's just try and put it on my wrist here, just so you can get a little bit of a reference. It is a little bit smaller watch than I would personally like. Then again, it is kind of nice from time to time to have a little bit smaller watch actually on your wrist. Like the 7X can be a little bit big on my wrist from time to time, especially when I'm doing longer runs and so on. You start to notice it a little bit. And also if you're working in confined spaces and so on, it does feel a little bit big from time to time with the 7X here. Versus the Epix, it does take up a little bit less real estate here on my wrist. So even though visually I don't really like it when I look down on my wrist, it looks very small. But actually when I look in the mirror or something like that, I kind of like the look. So it's a little bit strange, like looking straight at it looks small to me, but when I actually see my reflection, it looks quite nice, I think. And also it's kind of nice to have a little bit lighter watch from time to time. But the major thing here, how well does the button work? And that's one thing that also made me want to sell this one, because you don't really know how well the button works until you actually unbox it and try it out. So let's try the start button. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is the way it's supposed to feel. I'd get a nice click and a springiness from this button, which I never got from my original Epix. I kind of could twist the button a little bit, feel springy, like a few times I would click the button, but then again will just feel a lot of very recessed after a few clicks. And this one here, oh man, that's just so satisfying. A back button feels a little less clicky, but this one doesn't have that extra click that my back buttons sometimes could have, where I would have to click it in, like feel a kind of a hard click. But this one, even though it's not as satisfying as the start-stop button, definitely feels very nice. And the other buttons here on the other side, let's just try those. Okay, the middle button there, definitely the less clicky one. This is just out of the box. In my experience, using it a few weeks, a few months maybe, the buttons will kind of break in a little bit. But yeah, man, this is just so much nicer. So yeah, finally when I'm switching between the Epix and my 7X, which has excellent buttons, I don't feel that like less travel on the start-stop button. I kind of don't always feel that I've pressed the button, which is kind of annoying. This one here, I am definitely very confident that I have pressed a button. So that's nice. Maybe a little bit better clicky than my 7X here. Now the Epix starts to feel a little bit better. Nah, not really, but definitely get a nice satisfying click from the start and back button there. Those were the two that was still annoying me a little bit, especially the start-stop button, like I said. Other than that, the watch itself looks pretty much identical to the original unboxing video I did, or it's exactly identical to the original unboxing video I did there back in January. Still have those quick release bands, or quick fit straps there, 22mm. Like I said, I highly recommend these Yo-Side here from Amazon. I can of course link them down in the description below. I've used those on both my Epix Gen2 since release. This is the exact band that I used since release. So what is it? Close to 8 months. Still looks kind of new, but it does have a little bit wear and tear, of course. Especially noticeable here on the black one, on the border here, on the edge there. The color has been like wearing off a little bit, but it's still very springy. And I believe it's pretty much the exact same place that I have tightened it here on the side, You can see I have it almost tightened all the way up. Keep it very tight on my wrist because I want that heart rate sensor to be as accurate as possible. So I will use the exact same band on this one here. And of course on the back side here, it's exactly the same as the launch model side here. Again, so satisfying clicking this button now. That's the way it should have been always. I'm not really sure if there's any hardware changes between this and the launch model. But definitely, if you have some issues with the button, contact Garmin. They have very good customer support, and you should claim a new watch and get one with the buttons that feels all right or that works just fine. Never really had any issues with the buttons not working, but just the clickiness of the buttons are very important, so you can get the haptic feedback when you actually clicked and pressed something. Let's remove the screen protector here and actually just set the watch up, see if there's any kind of battery left or battery on this device here. So let's just hold the on-off button here for a few seconds and the screen turns on. I don't really remember the animations I got with the launch models, but of course you could go back and watch that video. But I believe it was pretty close to this one here. Let's just set it up in English and paired with a phone. I already have a phone with Garmin Connect installed on it because I of course use it with my Garmin devices. So just add a new device down here. It should pop up within a few seconds. As you can see here, it pops up. You can just connect it and you should allow for connection here. And you can see you get a little passcode there that you have to type in. And that's pretty much it. Now you just have to wait for it to be connected to Garmin Connect here. But of course you can go and watch my original video if you want to go through the whole setup process. I will just kind of skip this part here. Okay, so this is the watch set up here. You can see the default watch face right out of the box. And of course you can do the long press there if you want to get into the settings or to the specific widget there. But let's just go in and see what kind of firmware we actually get out of the box. Oh, and again, very nice to feel that clicky button there. Now I have issues with the up button, not feeling as responsive, but yeah, I'll probably get used to that. Or maybe just need to break it in a little bit. But then again, let's go into settings. And right off the bat, the up button here just seems to not work that reliable. You can see if I press up, it sometimes doesn't really register that I'm pressing the button, and other times it seems like it's registering that I am like doing a long press. Like there, you can see I'm not doing a long press, I'm just pressing the button. That's kind of strange. So it seems to be another issue with the button there. That just sucks. If I have to do another warranty claim there, or maybe I just need to massage it in a little bit. But you can see definitely it doesn't really register that I am just clicking the button up. And then again, if I want to get into settings, holding the button doesn't do anything. And I am feeling that I'm pressing the button here. I'm definitely pressing it all the way in. What is wrong here? You can see I'm holding the button on the side. It doesn't really seem to want to open the menu, other than when I release the button, then it will open the menu. It's strange, but anyway, let's just get into actual system here and see what kind of firmware we are shipping with. Kind of get a little bit idea of when this was actually made. And I can only really go down because the up button is not really all that reliable. So we're looking at software version 8.23, which I believe is not the latest as of this video. I'll just put the latest model number you can see here on the screen now, of course, as of recording this video. So I'm not really sure if this is also the latest hardware, but definitely the up/menu button there doesn't work all that reliable. Not sure if I need to massage it a little bit, but you see if I just press the button, see one time here, doesn't really go up. It should go up, of course, to the widgets there, and other times it will just get into the settings menu. So seems like the buttons is a little stuck. If I hold the button inside, nothing happens unless I release the button, and then the menu will pop up. That's pretty strange. Just quick tapping the button there, menu will pop up again. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but down button works fine. Back button works fine. Light button there works just fine. And stop button there works just fine. And in general, I've been pretty pleased with my Epix Gen 2. The thing I don't like, as you can see here, first of all, if you have always on screen, it will not be always completely on. It will go into kind of a sleep state. You can kind of still see it right now, even though I have a lot of bright light shining down towards the light, or towards the watch, rather, excuse me. You can still kind of see the time, but you kind of have to raise it up if you want to see the watch face in its full glory. And if you have do not disturb and sleep mode enabled, so for instance, I have sleep mode enabled from 11 to whenever I want to wake up. And I cannot really use the up button there, but if I had the sleep mode on, like so, then it will go into like a sleep mode on the watch face as well. And this one will actually go completely into sleep mode. So you can see here, it will turn off the display, even if I have always on display turned on. And that's so annoying, and it won't even wake up if I am moving my wrist around. The only thing I really want to waking up is to like tap the screen. So there's a lot of inconsistency there, going from an always on display, no matter what kind of lighting conditions and so on, to a display that's only always on during the daytime if you're not sleeping. And of course, when you're in the sleep mode there, it will go completely off unless you of course tap the button, either tap the light button or tap the screen. So it's a little bit inconsistent. I'm not really always going to bed at 11. I just have that enabled in settings. So maybe I'll go to bed at 12 or 1, and then I'll have to constantly tap the screen there to actually get to see the time if I have always on screen turned on. So for me, it's just more consistent to just leave that always on screen disabled on the Epix watch. So I have raise to wake gesture turned on. That works best, and you also of course get a little bit better battery life. And that kind of sucks because that brings it more in line with smartwatches out there that has that raise to wake gesture. Of course, Apple Watch have that always on screen as well. So in general, I kind of like this watch, but I'm not totally in love with it. I really like using it actively, but man, that just sucks that if this button doesn't work either. You can see there, I'm just pressing it one time and I get into settings. It doesn't go up. This one time it did, this time it didn't. That's just strange behavior. So I really love using this watch actively. I leave the always on screen turned on when I'm out and doing my running and my activities. But I also found sometimes when I have the always on screen turned on during my activity, the screen will still go off. I'm not really sure why. I tried to, toggle the always on screen on and off during my activity, restarting the activities and so on. But sometimes it still will just turn off when I actually lift my wrist up, and then I will have to, of course, do the gesture to wake, which is kind of annoying. It does happen from time to time, like I said, when I go out and doing my activity. I've also had my Epix watch actually reboot on me a few times. I believe 2 times total. Not really doing anything. I believe one of the times I just browsing through the widgets, and then it will just freeze on me and it will do a reboot. I've not had that happen to me with my 7X. That's been totally reliable. So it seems to be a little bit buggy there. And also sometimes you have a little more drop frames when you're actually swiping between widgets and so on, because this is rocking a higher resolution display. And I believe it does have exactly the same CPU and so on inside as the 7 does. So it has to push more pixels, which of course will put a little more strain on this GPU or APU that's inside this watch here. And also one time I had issues with locking onto satellites. And this was just from my home here, where I usually go out and run from. Always, pretty much, I'll get a GPS signal within a few seconds. But just this one occasion, it just took me several minutes, and still I had not been able to successfully log onto any satellites. But again, this was a one-off. I've not had that issue since. And I also experienced it on my Phoenix 7X on 2 separate occasions, same location and so on. So I live in a apartment complex, so there is a pretty tall building when I'm, going outside and starting my activity. So that's not really the ideal scenario, but like I said, 99% of the time it just works within a few seconds. It logs onto satellite. For me personally, I've just given up using the heart rate sensor here for my activity when I'm running, especially when I'm doing any kind of interval and faster pace stuff. For slower runs, it is just fine, but it still is not fast enough to track those higher spikes there if you are doing any kind of interval or faster running training. For hiking and slow runs, it is fine, but if you are a little more demanding, definitely do get a chest strap. Still feel you get a lot better result with one of those. But other than that, I haven't really had any issues with my Epix Gen 2, other than what we talked about, the buttons and so on. It's been mostly reliable and fast, and that nice screen there. Also in terms of its durability, I had a little bit of maybe a little bit of coating starting to peel off around the edges. Unfortunately, I didn't really take a photo and video of it before I shipped it back. I was kind of in a little bit of a time crunch there, but you can kind of see my Phoenix 7X here. A little bit of the same. You can see a little bit maybe of the coating starting to peel off, like around the edges there on the sharp edge. But other than that, it was looking pretty close to brand new. after 8 months of usage. And I kind of switch between the two. Whenever the battery goes out of my 7X there, I'll kind of switch to the Epix, and I'll maybe use this with 2 battery cycles, and then I will go back to my 7X. Or whenever I need a little bit smaller watch, I will go to my Epix, and whenever I need that nice flashlight there, I will go to my 7X. It definitely sucks that it doesn't have the flashlight. It's not a feature that you will think too much about really before you actually have one or have a watch with a flashlight on. I use this all the time, pretty much every day, and also when I'm running at night, I do also have that to turn all on automatically after the sunset, shine a little bit of light for cars and so on to notice me when I'm outside and doing my run when it's very dark out. I find that feature very nice and very comforting, and also having that flashlight when I'm running, but also just around the house and other utilities. I use that flashlight all the time. Sometimes I just take the watch off and I use it as a little flashlight for whatever kind of use case I have. I feel it is bright enough for my use case, but I've definitely been drooling over that Enduro 2 there with that 2 times brighter flashlight. That would be kind of nice if it was a little bit brighter, but I feel that it is bright enough. But I miss that a lot when I'm on my Epix watch. That flashlight would definitely have made it a little easier maybe to switch completely to an Epix watch if I wanted to do so. But that's also one thing I really miss when I'm on my Epix. But double tap the buttons up here, the light button, and you will have this little flashlight. It doesn't seem like a whole lot when you actually just see it like this, but you'll actually be surprised during nighttime. This little light here, it's actually fine enough for me to like find my night slippers there when I'm going to the toilet at night and so on, or finding my slippers at night. You can see it does light up a little bit here, even though I have quite a lot of light in the room right now. But of course my camera is not really set up to use this flashlight here. But yeah, definitely usable if you don't have anything else available. Not something you can use to light up your trails when you're running, but like I said, to find your slippers at night, and if you just want to read something at night and so on, you can kind of just put the watch up there close to it and you can kind of read it. So it is a usable little thing to have, but you cannot use it, of course, when you're out and running at night to notify other drivers or cyclists and so on that you are on the road there. Yeah, that's just one thing I really miss when I'm on my Epix, other than, of course, the always on screen being true, always on. That's really the 2 major things. But during active usage, especially if you use the map and also just the widgets, a lot of the widgets here just look so much nicer, and a lot of the graphs and all the graphics here just look so much nicer, and text looks so much sharper. Also, if you get notifications, of course, on your watch, the notifications look so much sharper. The text, you can see more text as well. It's just so nice. So I really like that when I'm using this watch. So here 8 months later, I would still highly recommend Epix Gen 2. It's actually come down significantly in price, at least here in my country. So you can get it quite a bit lower than MSRP. And it also seems to be widely available in stock as of this video at least. So definitely, if you have the money and if you know what you're getting into with that AMOLED screen, I think you are going to like it quite a lot. I definitely do like it, but I don't love it. And still, if I only had to choose one watch, I would go with the 7X. This is definitely the watch for me, but that screen there, it just makes me come back to the Epix Gen 2 again and again. Even though sometimes I feel like I just want to sell it because I'm not totally in love with it, I just end up keeping it because, yeah, actively using the screen is just so much nicer and definitely all worth it in my opinion. Especially if you're coming from a smartwatch and you want a little more serious fitness watch, this is definitely a nice addition. But that's pretty much it for this video. Just a unboxing and kind of an after 8 month experience using this watch here. Still is a fantastic watch that I would highly recommend. And of course I can share some link down in the description if you're interested in this watch here, and also interested in these Yo-side band here, which I highly recommend still. Fantastic watch straps for the Garmin watches and other watches as well. I've kind of hoped that the button will start working again, so I don't have to contact Garmin yet again to get a new watch. But yeah, at least Garmin has excellent service, so it shouldn't take too long to get a new one. But man, those buttons, why can't they just get it right? I don't get it. They have just made watches so many years now, and for all the big watches I've had, the X series of watches from Garmin, they've always worked reliable for me. So far, the smaller watches seem to be a little harder to actually get good buttons on. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope to see you again in a future one. Until then, take care.